Hello students, this side Bindu Chaudhary welcomes you in your social science class, and today we are covering our chapter 5th of our unit 3rd, the judiciary, and in this we are covering chapter 5th, judiciary part 4th. It means question answer session. Yes, we had discussed about the chapter reading session in our the courts and how judiciary always be the superior to the legislature as well as to the executive, because if any crime or offence done by legislature or the executive, then judiciary had that much of power to implement their laws and rules in all of the levels. Okay, and we had discussed about the Supreme Court, High Court and lower court. It means the pyramid also, in which we had discussed about the decisions taken by Supreme Court is implemented in all levels of the court. It means if any decision taken by High Court or lower court, then if any appellate is not in a position to be satisfied, then he or she appeal to the Supreme Court, and all the decisions of the Supreme Court is implementing on the all levels. Okay. So, today we are continuing our question answer session, and in this question answer session we are taking the steps and examples of the chapter. See, in our question first we are reading about the question. You read that one of the main functions of the judiciary is upholding the law and enforcing fundamental rights. Why do you think an independent judiciary is necessary to carry out this important function? Yes, it is necessary, but how it is necessary, how judiciary plays an important role in this one, we will consider in our answer session here. The independent judiciary is necessary to carry out this function because of the following reasons. When we are considering about the reasons, student, see, one by one we are considering here. The independent judiciary does not work under any pressure from the legislature or the executive. It can protect the fundamental rights. It means if anybody wants to influence, whether the member of the legislature, whether the members of the executive, or whether the member of the upper class society, but what's the role of the judiciary, students? The role of the judiciary is the most powerful role in the system. So, the main work of judiciary is to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens. It works independently to give every citizen. See, when we are considering every citizen, it means maybe upper class, maybe the lower class. All the levels are equal. No matter of casteism, no matter of religion considering here. Whether rich or poor, equal rights, and he, she. It means no gender discrimination is here. He, she cannot be discriminated against any other considerations. It means on the presence of the law, every citizen has the same power or same equality of the decisions. Next one. In a situation where a politician, when we are considering about the legislature, when we are considering about the executive, then we will put answer in this way also. In a situation where a political or the executive has the power to appoint the judges, the judiciary will not be able to take independent decisions. Okay. And when we are giving example here, a judge appointed by a politician will not be able to judge a case against that person on its merit. Yes, we had discussed this thing in our chapter reading session, that if any influence by the political leader, it means the judge is not in a position to take a decision against to him or her. Rich and powerful might try to influence the judiciary To prevent such situation, Constitution provides for an independent judiciary. That is the main reason here that our Constitution provides totally independent judiciary, not influenced by the political party, not influenced by the legislature, not influenced by the any person of the executive as well as the rich upper class peoples. So our judiciary is totally separated from all of these things and has no impression from all these persons or things. When we are considering our next question, students, see here, reread. When we are considering about reread, it means reread the list of the fundamental rights provided in chapter first. When we had discussed about the Constitution in our chapter first, we had discussed the different fundamental rights in our Constitution. So first reread these fundamental rights, and then our question started here. How do you think the right to constitutional remedies connects to the ideas of the judicial review? See our answer, how the constitutional remedies connects the idea of judicial review. So we will write our answers based on our chapter readings of chapter first here. Judicial review of court decision is carried out when the judgment given by a court violates any constitutional provision. It is must that this thing is necessary, that if anything influenced or violates by the constitutional provisions, then this one is not a fair work. In the Constitution, every citizen has equal rights. Every citizen has equal rights and none can be discriminated against. It means whether rich, poor, whether caste system, whether gender system, whether religion, nothing is here in present of the law. It means our fundamental rights had a right to equality. It means equality in all levels without any discrimination. If there is a violation, the judiciary is free to review the earlier judgments even by the Supreme Courts also. So when we are discussing about the different levels of the pyramids section as Supreme Court, High Court and Lower Court, then the final decision taken by the Supreme Court is the last and final. Next question we are considering here. In the following illustration, fill in each tier with the judgment given by the various courts in the Sudha Goyal case. We had studied Sudha Goyal case in our chapter reading session. So check our responses with others in the class also, as your friends are also putting their answers. So you will consider your answer and match with the answers to them also. First when we are talking about the lower stage, it means from the starting of the case, just we had discussed about the Sudha Goyal and whom? Lakshman, his mother and his brother Subhash, Shakuntala and Subhash. So here when we are considering about the lower court's decision, the lower court convicted Sudha's husband, his mother, his brother-in-law and sentenced all three of them to death. It is the decision of the lower court, and the lower court sentenced all these three of them to the sentence to death. It means brother-in-law Subhash, mother-in-law Shakuntala and husband Lakshman. Okay. When we are considering about the High Court's decision, it means Lakshman and his family was not satisfied with the decisions of the lower court, then they appealed to the High Court. As we had discussed that we have appeal system in our judiciary, so they appeal in the High Court and the High Court passed the judgment stating that Sudha's husband and the others were innocent and set them free. See how the decision of the lower court was changed by the higher court. What's happened in the Supreme Court, students? Then Sudha and his family members with the society members, women's welfare society members, they appealed to the Supreme Court and Supreme Court had a decision. See, the Supreme Court passed a judgment stating that Sudha's husband and his mother were guilty and sentenced them to prison for whole of the life. The court freed the brother-in-law. Why the court freed the brother-in-law, students? Because there was no witness against him, and as per the witnesses, evidences, Supreme Court had taken decision and gave her its judgment about the Lakshman and Shakuntala, that they sentenced to prison for the whole of the life. How the decisions changed between lower courts, high court and the Supreme Court. This one is the good example of all these things. Now we are considering our question 4th here. Keeping the Sudha Goyal case in mind, take the sentences that are true and correct the ones that are false. See, we are considering about true and false session here. Our first sentence is here. The accused took the case to the High Court because they were unhappy with the decision of the trial court. When we are considering about this incident, then this incident took place in the lower court, and in which lower court take the decision about whom? About against the Lakshman, it means Sudha's husband, mother-in-law Shakuntala and brother-in-law Subhash, and sentenced them to death. But when they appealed to the High Court had totally changed the situations. And why they changed? Because these people appealed to the High Court and they were not satisfied with the decisions of the lower court. It means this sentence is totally true here. When we are taking our next sentence, see, they went to the High Court after the Supreme Court had given its decision. Supreme Court had, see the pyramid again. This one is our pyramid, students. In the top we have Supreme Court. Yes, Supreme Court is here, then High Court is here, then lower court is here. Then this one is the sequence. And see what's the question is saying here. They went to the High Court after Supreme Court. After Supreme Court के बाद तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं गए थे. So this is totally false here, because the sequence is not as usual the sequence of the court and judiciary system. First one, if any appeal to the lower court or trial court and was not satisfied with the decisions of the lower court, then appeal to the High Court, then appeal to the Supreme Court, not from the High Court. And what about that one? Supreme Court. Okay, we have our next sentence here. If they do not like the Supreme Court verdict, the accused can go back again to the trial court? No, totally not. This one is the totally false statement here, because this is not possible that if any decision taken by the Supreme Court again reverted to the lower court. So this sentence is totally false. We are considering our version. It means PIL, and PIL, as we had discussed in our chapter reading session, that if any citizen of our India seems that something went wrong with the poor people or any other community or any other things, then via media, via any postcard and envelope, they put this PIL. So what's the question? We will continue here. In the 1980s is a significant step in ensuring access to justice for all. So this one, PIL, public interest litigation, which was considered in the 1980s, is a significant step. We will put here in our favor or not in favor. Okay, so we totally are in favor of this one. Before the 1980s, filing of litigation into the courts was very costly, very everything needed in that one. But when we are considering about the money matters also, so on that time when we are considering that very costly, that then the poor people doesn't afford all these things. The poor could not afford to go to the courts because they had no money at all. Since the 1980s, the people can file their case through a letter or a telegram addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court without spending any money. The court take it as PIL, it means public interest litigation. So After 1980s, the situation totally changed, and in those situations, what happened is, students, without money, only with the help of the letter or telegram, anyone took the interest in favor of the PIL and sent the PIL address to the Supreme Court or maybe to the High Court for the decision of the level of the citizens of the all over India. Thus, it is a significant step in ensuring access to justice to all the citizens. As we are considering about the midday meal, when the right to life is our fundamental right, then we had our one more decision of right to food. And when we are taking right to food, then with the help of this PIL, our governments allowed all the citizens to midday meals, or with the help of the BPL cards, ration cards, they are taking a very minimum amount against the rice, wheat and other facilities given by the government. It's our last question here, students. Reread excerpts from the judgment on the Olga Teles versus Bombay Municipal Corporation case. See, we had discussed this case. Now write in your own words what the judge mean when they said that the right to livelihood was part of the right to life. Important decision taken by the judiciary. So important to all of us to read this case and interpret this with ourselves. See, Olga Teles versus Bombay Municipal Corporation case portrays the plight of lakhs of persons who live on payments and इन स्लम्स इन द सिटी ऑफ बॉम्बे. आप देखते होंगे बच्चों, बॉम्बे की पिक्चर्स में भी आपने देखा होगा बॉम्बे के सीन्स, या फिर आपको कहीं विजिट करने का मौका मिला है बॉम्बे को. सी ऑन दैट टाइम व्हाट हैपन्स, मैनी ऑफ द पीपल्स, पुअर पीपल्स लिव ऑन पेमेंट्स, फुटपाथ जो बने हुए होते हैं उन पे, एंड स्लम्स एरिया इन द सिटी ऑफ द बॉम्बे, दे constitute nearly half the population of the city. It means half the population lived on the payments or in the slum areas. These man and woman came to the court. So what's the matter, why they all people came to the court? All the man and women, see here, to ask for a judgment that they cannot be evicted from their shelters without being offered alternative accommodation. जब बॉम्बे म्यूनिसिपल कॉरपोरेशन ने उनको वहाँ से हटाना चाहा, उनकी जो स्लम एरिया है वहाँ से उन्हें खदेड़ना चाहा बच्चों, ऑन दैट कंडीशन दे टुक हेल्प ऑफ द कोर्ट्स एंड ऑल evicted from their shelters by the municipal corporation. So they came to court and needed their alternative accommodations. What they put in the main reason behind all these things, see, they rally for their rights on Article 21. Article 21 of the Constitution, which guarantees that no person shall be deprived of his life except according to the procedure established by the law. It means किसी को भी उसके घर से बेदखल नहीं किया जा सकता है, even to provide alternate to him or her. They do not contend that they have a right to live on the payments. It's okay, this is final. Their contention is that they have a right to live. See the point here, all the man and women came to the court and they had a right to live, as they had written in their file, a right which cannot be exercised without the means of the livelihood. यहाँ पे देखिए, जब हम आर्टिकल्स की बात करते हैं तो राइट टू लिव इज़ देयर एंड राइट टू लिव विद द राइट टू लिवलीहुड इज़ देयर. They have no option but to flock to big cities like Bombay, which provide the means of bare subsistence. They only choose a pavement or a slum which is nearest to their place of work. It means whenever the situations was there, the people thought that if our working place is here, then why we will not in slum areas or in the on the pavement. So, this situations was there, and all the man and woman took the shelter of the court because they needed their own shelters, students. That's why they are pleased that the right to life is misleading without a right to the protection of the means by which alone life can be lived. So, they needed life to protection, right to live and right to livelihood. So, when we considered about this case, the concept is clear that judiciary system provides a help to the people who needs their fundamental rights protection, and with the help of the judiciary system we will protect our fundamental rights. So, here is our question answer session, students, and this judiciary system is the important system which we considered here. Now, in our next session we will consider our new chapter. Have a nice day.